Shalom. As you see, I just made a video just for the Targeted Individual community. I called it Targeted Individuals Edutainment. That's entertainment. Yesterday I made a video concerning, like I said, Antonio Brown situation, speaking on certain things that was in the media about Prince and Michael Jackson and things like that. And then I also addressed an honest opinion. Like I said, I was not attacking anyone, about religion as a whole being a part of the Catholic Church. Basically owns all religion, no matter what you call it. Now I'm just speaking from my right to speak, to express myself, and YouTube took that video down without my permission, or either they allowed somebody in the communities to through this targeted program to take it down, because they don't want you to have freedom of expression. That's a violation of your constitutional rights, my constitutional rights. And then they send the gang stalkers around and try to intimidate you. Regardless of any of that, we still have the right to do that. We still have the right to express ourselves. We're not robots. We're not someone that's under their control. You can say this, but you can't say that. You can post this, but you can't post that. And then I was talking about the Moors, how the Moors, the de jure Moors. So they have de jure Moors. This is their own terminology. You're the jure Moors and the dirty Moors. Then you have the Yashralite Israelites. This is all bloodline. And then you have the incorporated versions of both of those that are strictly run by the corporation. So I don't seek to be run by a corporation, because I understand it. And that's not to say, like I said, I'm not fighting anyone, but if the truth fights you, then the Hamashiach has said, I judge no man. He said, but the words I speak shall judge you. So if the truth offends, then I can't help that. The truth is gonna do what it do. Tell the truth. The truth is the truth. Then, like I was saying, about some of the Moors were saying that there's no room for idol God worship, and I agree with that, because like I was telling them, I don't worship idols. I worship the true and living Almighty Creator, the Almightiest. And then I had a thought this morning about everything that exists in the mind of the first one, the Almighty Creator. That's why people can be placed inside of the book of remembrance, because he remembers. He has a portion in his mind that he can remember those people. And then there's some people that just never have to be remembered, because they're already in his mind, has been alive. They never died. So they're the real ones. They're the ones in his mind that never die. They always exist, because they're in the forefront of his mind. That's why I said, don't fear man who can destroy the body, but fear him who's able to destroy both body and soul in hell. Because if he forget about you and just take you out of his mind, that means you don't exist no more. Just like that one scripture, what was it called? I forgot the scripture. He said it should be as though you never been. So it's kind of like the video game. When I grew up, we used to have a video game that you can, it was a SIM card, or I think it was a SIM card, or I forgot what it's called, but it's basically a save card. So no matter what happened to the game, you can save the game on the card. So whenever the game come back on, or whatever, you can just put it back in the console of the game, and then you'll just continue where the game left off. So that's quite disrespectful and quite arrogant. And I spoke on the part about Michael Jackson, and that was not to say nothing bad about him, because all of us, because of the man that fell, Adam, we were all after him. We all came into after his similitude. That's why the first man, Adam, was a man of flesh, and the second man was a quickening spirit. The second Adam was a quickening spirit, is the Hamashiach. Because everybody born after Adam took on the similitude after the flesh. So everybody has that a characteristic, or many characteristics, or those spirits, or those works of the flesh in their flesh. So I was able to see that arrogant aspect that was in Michael Jackson, when he made that statement about Sony. And like I said, he had the right, because that was his business, and he made a deal with them, but he called them the devil. So in that video, so don't make a deal with the devil. That's why I also said I asked the questions that I do when I asked a certain portion of the corporation based on when I worked. Come to find out that someone, even though people meant it for evil, but someone meant it for my good, which was the creator using people, I was able to get into what they call a Plan D when I actually worked, which is the insurance plan, to where you pay into it, according, that's the term, pay into it, that they take out of your paycheck. And then at the particular time, I was in Plan E. But then someone told me about Plan D, so basically I was grandfathered into Plan D. Through them taking out, catching up until I was caught up, and then I was in Plan D, which stated that, at the time I didn't know about any of this stuff. That's the honest hello truth. But I was led that way. So I ended up getting into that plan. And then, like I said, I always have been a living sentient being. I've never been a corporate entity. Although certain ones at the top of the corporation had utilized, and then even in the civil orders that they gave to their own corporation, they told them, they said, well, for over 150 years you've done this to this certain people, which what they called African Americans, 14th Amendment citizens, that they said. But now they came correct, and then they put a mandate out on their corporation, their agents, owners, and everyone, letting them know that you can't treat these people like this, and cease and desist. And then also come to find out, I had the opportunity to claim my nationality when I found, and this just basically, I just come to find this out really, I was awakened to something that was to something that was different in 2017. When I was told like 3 times when I was over one of my friend's house to go home and pray. When I was first awakened to something that's different. But then about 2000, what is it, 2000? I can honestly say 2000, late 2000, I'll just say safety, 2000, early 2019, that I can honestly say that I started really finding out about nationalities and things like that. Late 2018, I believe I was mid to late. I knew a little bit about some things. I started learning. So I don't know what I know today, and I probably won't know what I know tomorrow. But what I do know today, I know no more now than I did then. So my approach has always been to, even though I did not know, when I played football, I was a running back. I didn't know what was going to happen when I crossed the line as far as hitting that hole. But I always ran with the ball, with the intent to score a touchdown. That was my thing was, I never thought about oh, I'm gonna have to run the ball 50 times to get a touchdown. My thought was, because I had the ability that he had given me, the Most High, every time I touched it, I could take it to the house. I don't care if I was on the 9, the 1 yard line, 10. And that's not boasting. That's just the faith that I had in the ability that the Most High had given me, based on the experiences that I've experienced running with the football. So even running with this truth, I didn't wait to run with it. So I might make mistakes, but I was still running with the truth. And then so I said, as I know better, I do better. And as I know better than that, I do better than that. But I'm going to still run with the truth. So, in saying that, when I was awakened, I was given a chosen name. And then in that chosen name, I believe that was the Most High had gave me, that was opposite from the name that I was given by my mother, that the corporation incorporated and turned it into some people could say a clone or a legal fiction, 8 days after the day I supposedly was born, on their birth certificate, in which I gave back to them as well. But all of these things are actually null and void, even according to them. All licenses, birth certificates, marriage certificates, all these different type of things are null and void for failure of full disclosure of their very intent of bad faith. So that's their words that I'm using. And all debts had already been settled and settled and discharged. Then also according to Article 6, and then U.S. Article 6 and also U.S. Article 4, Section 1, all debt belongs to them, the corporation. And also, full faith and credit should be given to each de jure American. And then I talked about the de jure Americans, and this is not to put anybody down, but the truth of the matter is, if you say you're an American is defined in 1828 Webster Dictionary as being the aboriginal, the indigenous, copper-colored people found here by the Europeans. Now, I didn't create that. I didn't know Webster, the man who wrote that dictionary, because I wasn't in the flesh at that time. I wasn't here in that capacity. And if I'm correct, Webster was a European, I believe himself, the modern day European, from 1800 down. So, and then also the term Moor, some people post that that means that you're Islamic, you're of the Islamic faith and different things. I don't, And then some people say Islam, this basically means peace. But even going back further than that, the traditional, the original term that I understand, that a Moor is a dark-skinned indigenous man or woman. Looking up something. Okay, let's see, where were we at? Pull it up. This is article that I put up on the internet. It says, before he was president, Abraham Lincoln, and the man who refused to be called Negro, because Negro, African American, all those things are color or law terms, which they created to make, even according to them, the so-called African American, who was actually Aborigine indigenous to this land in America, Turtle Island, North America, California, de jure soil land. This is a quote, because I believe Abraham Lincoln may have been the last de jure president. That's based on knowledge from learning, not something that I knew, but something that I learned. This is a quote from back then. It says, "My client is not a Negro, though it is a crime to be a Negro, no crime to be born with black skin. But my client is not a Negro. His skin may not be as white as ours, even though their skin is not white either. But I say he is not a Negro, though he may be a Moor." Mr. Lincoln interrupted Judge at that time Davis, scarcely able to restrain a smile. "You mean a Moor, not a Moor, M-O-O-R, and not a M-O-R-E? Well," this was his words, "well, Your Honor, M-O-O-R, not C-H-M-O-O-R-E, replied Mr. Lincoln, with a sweep of his long arm towards the table where M-O-O-R-E and I sat. "I say my client may be a M-O-O-R, but he is not a Negro." So then, the definitions say that a Moor is a dark-skinned person, but then you have all these people now that say they're Moors, but they're not dark-skinned. I don't know, I'm just saying based on definitions. Then I was talking about how I am indeed a Israelite. Then I talked about how the Israelite, and this was not to put anybody else down, but it's basically by definition that you can find in the etymology dictionary. An Israelite, talking about the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob by bloodline. And then the Israeli, also in that same definition, you can find online. Etymology dictionaries, and as a matter of fact, they encourage you on the definition. It says Israeli. It says, I believe, what did they say? Citizens of the modern state. And then it says compare Israelite. It says see Israelite for comparison. So they told you to look it up, and I did. And then I talked about, because those honorable Moors and those honorable Israelites won't mind me saying this, because being honorable is basically just desiring to be honorable and do your best every day to do things and correct things to be honorable. You have good faith intent to be honorable. So then I brought up the fact that, because I always put on the record that the Moors that I've listened to has given me great insight into the laws of the land, and I always gave them credit for the information that I gained from them. But also I've heard some say that there's no room for idol God worship and things like that. And then I would always hear some of their beginning of their meetings. They'll have a prayer to Allah. I'm not saying they have the right to do that, but I'm just saying from the standpoint that they say there's no room for those beliefs and stuff like that. So they would start prayers to Allah. Then I heard one young man talk about how the Baphomet belongs to them. I don't say us, because I don't believe in the Baphomet from the standpoint of worshiping it. So I don't claim it to be mine. That's why it says theirs, whoever claimed that. And then they worship women. From the standpoint, I respect women. I respect women more now than I did then. But I don't worship them. So that's all I was saying, when you're saying that there's no room for worship, are you saying there's no room for I was saying, was there no room for worship that the Israelites do, or there's no room for worship. So that's all I was saying, you know. So because they're still worshiping, and that wasn't to put them down. That was just to say, hey, you know, just go ahead and make a clarification of what you mean by that, because I see you worshiping. What else did I say? Then I was talking about how I have the right to receive safety retirement, because that's why I ask questions, because based on what I see others have done in the past, and then also it states that all debts are already set off and paid, discharged anyway. That's why I did my part to answer for the negus-el that they may have created a debt under, or a note or a claim against, to authorize them to discharge, set off, and settle their account with all rights as being the creditor to receive service as my right. Also, concerning my safety retirement, I also told them, even though they said they had the negus-el that my mother had originally given the infant that was born through her canal, that was created into a clone or a legal fiction entity 8 days later, to be a legal fiction of bad faith, which is also determined in their civil orders, that all rights have been given back to the people because they're the ones who had claimed it, so they have to give it back. You know, acknowledge they have no control over it. They basically gave control back to the so-called African American, which are actually the Israelites, Moors, the Americans. You know, so like I said, I'm not speaking against anyone else. I'm just speaking for myself. And everyone else already speaks for themselves, so I don't need to speak for them anyway. So in saying that, that's why I made sure that when I talk to those representatives of the ones who issues the checks for safety retirement, I made sure to ask them certain questions. I asked them, have I sold my soul? They said no. I said, what do I owe you to receive this? Nothing. What is my obligations to receive this? You don't have any obligations. This is our obligation to give to you based on the insurance plan. I'm just using this so you understand, or some may understand. This is part of the insurance that we were obligated to provide based on when you worked in Plan D. You know, so I said, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not involving myself in something that I don't desire to be involved in order to receive this. So you don't owe us nothing. Then I said, well, give me. I want full disclosure of. I have the right to, my right to to receive this safety retirement. And that's all they told me. They didn't give me anything else, so that's all I can go on. I don't know anything behind the scenes, hidden agendas, if they have any. I'm not saying they have none, but I'm just saying just in case. I don't know anything else other than what I was told. That's why I asked for full disclosure, which they were supposed to present. And they, based on what they presented to me, it's mine by right. And that's what they said, it's yours by right. So I don't anticipate anyone attempting to violate me for receiving my right. And then also they were saying that they're doing their disclosure, even their civil orders. It says all legal fictions, negus-el, estates, and everything that was done in bad faith automatically has been returned under the authority of those who had been defrauded or taken advantage of for over 150 years, the so-called African American. All property. And then, since this is a targeted individual video, you have those, and it's on the record that targeting is actually being done. So this is not something in my imagination. I'm sitting here talking to you, and they're playing with my screen, changing screens and everything while I'm talking, which is another, this is their distractions. Just like when I make videos a lot of times while it's on record, they're taking pictures with my own camera. It's incredible the things that these people are attempting to do or doing in bad faith on this indigenous soil. And then, like I said, they had basically taken down videos. I've created videos in the past where they've edited it without my permission to try to stop my thought or block part of the message. So, but yet and still, if someone was to try, and that's not my intent, because I don't think like that. I don't hate people. But if somebody was to violate their rights, they'll be up and they'll probably have a fit. But they don't look at things like that. But the Most Highest does. So, only reason I'm making this video is because, like I said, they took down the other video without my permission. At least on my computer, I can't see it. They took it down off of the video file section. And then also, I'm always seduris, appropriate personam, solo propria heredis, solo heredis, being myself. Like I said, I've never been a legal fiction entity, even though I didn't know it, what had been done at the time. Like I said, until recently, basically this year, or last year. But as I learned, but like I said, I was always running with the truth. And as I gain more truth, I reserve the right to always update that truth concerning myself. Then, like I said, also through the X-Real process, and I've never been a what they call, let me see. Can't think of the term right now. I've also learned. I learned this through the wars too. The term X-Real. Like I said, I don't work for the county. I don't work for the state. I don't work for the city. I don't work for any of those entities. I'm actually retired from the county of Los Angeles. I don't work for any corporate entity. And then, like I said, I gave them back everything that they incorporated, everything that belongs to them. I gave it back to them. But I also have the right to exercise my intellectual property if I desire to do so. But this particular time, I don't do any type of business at all, except for if the Most High puts it on my heart to do something to help people. That's all my desire is to do. My desire is not to do anything for filthy lucre, for filthy lucre's sake. But I always say, all rights reserved, exercising all rights at all times, perpetually. And all rights at all times perpetually means all rights. Everything that is mine by right, it is my desire to exercise that right to either do it or receive it, if it's mine by right. That's why I ask those questions. And if those who run the corporation say it's my right, then it's my right, and no one should interfere with my right. But no one shall enter, because I don't give them permission. So, just expressing myself. And as I said, my nationality is, which I have the right to claim more than one nation of people, which is actually based on the definitions I've given you. I have no religious affiliation from the standpoint of a corporate affiliation. The Most Highest lives in me. I live within me, my body. And my allodial private property is my domicile. And my national domicile is North America, the continent. California, de jure, soil, and land.